Do you constantly look up at the sky every time an airplane flies by? Maybe you should become a pilot. In this video, I'm going to talk about how. Welcome back everyone to Aviator Inspirations. On this channel I talk about aviation and answer your questions about the pilot profession. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. This week we're talking about the private pilot license. Everything from prerequisites, requirements, and most importantly, the cost. So let's jump right into the video. Why do you need a private pilot license, you may ask? Well, first and foremost, you can start flying for fun. You can also fly any Canadian registered 4-seat airplane anywhere in the world. That is the difference between the recreational pilot permit that I talked about last week, where you can only fly Canadian aircraft in Canada, but with a full private pilot license, you can fly them anywhere in the world. The prerequisites are quite simple. You only have to be 17 years old to get your private pilot license. Personally, I had my private pilot license before I had my full driver's license. You also need a Category 3 medical from an aviation doctor. The course requirements are a minimum of 45 hours total flight time. Out of those 45 hours, 17 have to be dual, or with an instructor. Out of those 17 hours, 5 have to be instrument flight hours, meaning you learn to fly by reference to the instruments, not by looking outside, and 3 hours cross-country, which means you fly from one airport to another. 12 hours have to be solo flight time, or flying by yourself. Out of those 12 hours, you have to do 5 hours cross-country, meaning you fly to a few different airports. You also have to do a minimum of 40 hours ground school and pass a Transport Canada written exam covering 4 subjects: air law, navigation, meteorology, and general knowledge, having a 60% pass mark in each of those subjects. Now, how long can you expect all of this training to take? That depends on your commitment level. You can get the whole private pilot license accomplished in 5 to 6 weeks if you commit to it on a full-time basis, or about 8 hours a day. Now, if you can't commit to it on a full-time basis, expect your training to take approximately 5 months if you fly 2 to 3 times a week, and also depending on the season. If it's winter and rainy days, low clouds, expect to be flying a little bit less, so it might take you a little bit of time. If you start in the spring, you should be done by the fall. Quick tip: if you have a recreational pilot permit, those training hours do count towards your private pilot license. Now, the number one question that everyone asks is, how much does it cost? The numbers I'm going to provide are going to be the national average here in Canada based in Canadian dollars, so you can expect to pay a little bit more or a little bit less depending on how much the flight school charges. For the dual portion, you can expect to pay about $6,400, the solo portion $3,200, ground school is approximately $400, and another $400 for all the books and supplies. However, if you have any of those previous materials from the recreational pilot permit, you can save a little bit of money right there. Lastly, the flight test fees and your medical and for your exams are going to be approximately $800. So the grand total comes to $11,200. But remember, that is based on a minimum of 45 hours of flight time. The national average is closer to 60 hours of flight time. So you can expect to pay close to $15,000 for your private pilot license if that's the case. Here's a pro tip. To save a little bit of time and money, try to fly 3 to 4 times a week. That way you'll have the maximum retention before your next lesson, and you won't be wasting time repeating any subjects. So there you have it. It's that simple to start your flight training towards your private pilot license. I'll link to a video I did earlier explaining the 3 paths that you can take to get your flight training accomplished. Question of the week: what was your inspiration to get into flying and ultimately get your full pilot's license? Join the conversation in the comment section below. And as always, if you have aviation related questions or questions about the pilot profession, leave them down in the comments section below and I'll make sure to cover them in a future episode. If you found value in this video, hit the like button and I'll see you next week.